Creatine. You've definitely heard the name, right? And you probably associate it with bodybuilders. But what if I told you there's so much more to this molecule than meets the eye? Today, we're going to demystify one of the most studied supplements on the planet. We'll show you why it might just be the ultimate power-up for your body and your brain. Let's dive in.
So let me start by asking you this. What if every single one of your cells had its own personal, portable power bank? You know, something it could just tap into for an instant burst of energy whenever it needed it most. It sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, doesn't it? Well, it's way closer to reality than you might think.
To understand how, we first have to talk about something called ATP. The easiest way to think about ATP is that it's the universal energy currency for your body. It's the electricity that powers literally everything. Every single heartbeat, every thought you have, every muscle contraction. When you lift a heavy weight, your muscles are spending ATP to get that job done. But here is the massive catch. Your body doesn't keep a huge bank account full of ATP. In fact, you only store enough for maybe a few seconds of all-out intense effort. After that, you're out of juice. The power shuts off. Your body desperately needs to regenerate that energy, and it needs to do it fast. So, how does it solve this constant energy crisis?
Well, that brings us right to Section 1, your body's power bank. This is where the hero of our story finally enters the picture.
That hero is creatine. It's a completely natural molecule that your body actually already makes in the liver. About 90 to 95% of it gets stored directly in your muscles, and the rest goes to your brain and other spots. And its one big job? To be that cellular power bank we were just talking about.
So how does this actually work? It's really brilliantly simple. When you use ATP for energy, it's like a battery draining. It turns into a low-energy molecule called ADP. This is where your stored creatine swoops in. It basically holds on to a spare battery part, and it donates that part to the drained ADP, instantly recycling it back into a fully charged, high-energy ATP molecule. This lets you keep going at a high intensity for much, much longer. Okay, so that's the science. But what does having more of this energy on tap actually mean for you in the real world? Let's jump into Section 2 and see how this all leads to more strength and faster recovery.
The research here is it's overwhelming. Once your creatine stores are full, you see real, tangible results. Better performance in your workouts, measurable increases in both muscle and strength, and even better recovery with less of that painful muscle soreness after a tough session.
And the hard data is really clear on this. Check out this number. On average, studies show that taking creatine can boost your lifting performance by about 14% compared to a placebo. Now, 14% might just sound like a number, but in the gym, that is huge. That's the difference between failing on your last rep and pushing out one or two more.
And this is where the long-term magic happens. Those extra reps add up over time. More strength means you can handle more training, and more training signals your muscles to get even stronger. It creates this amazing positive feedback loop for progress. But you gotta remember, creatine is the fuel, but you still have to drive the car. You have to pair it with resistance training to see the results.
But this is where things get really interesting. The benefits don't just stop at your muscles. Your brain is one of the most energy-hungry organs you have. So it kind of makes sense that a better energy system would help it out too. Which brings us to Section 3, a boost for your brain.
Now, the really crucial thing to get here is that the brain benefits of creatine really come out to play when your brain is under stress. Think about times like when you're sleep deprived, or you're trying to do some really intense mental work, or you're just under a lot of emotional stress. That's when having that extra energy reserve really shines.
And the research has found some absolutely amazing things. Creatine can help fight off some of that cognitive decline you get from a bad night's sleep. It improves your short-term memory and how quickly you can process information. It even acts like a neuroprotectant, helping your brain cells survive stressful situations. And get this, one incredible study found it might even double the effectiveness of antidepressants in women.
And you know, that last point is the perfect transition to our next section, because the benefits of creatine for women are really significant, and frankly, they're often overlooked. So let's get into Section 4, Key Benefits for Women. Creatine can be a huge stabilizing force for women throughout different stages of life. During the menstrual cycle, it can help buffer some of those energy and mood fluctuations from shifting hormones. For postmenopausal women, a big 2-year study found it improved things like walking speed and bone health markers. And while we still need more human research, early studies suggest it can even support a mother's energy needs during pregnancy. Okay, so the benefits are pretty clear for both the body and the brain.
The big question now is, how do you actually use it effectively and safely? Let's get practical in our last section, Section 5, your practical guide.
So, how much should you take? Well, it really depends on your main goal. For general muscle performance, 5 grams a day is the standard dose. That's plenty to fill up your muscle stores over about a month. But if you're more interested in the brain benefits, some research suggests a higher dose, maybe around 10 grams, is needed to really get it across the blood-brain barrier effectively.
But here's the single most important rule. Consistency is king. The whole goal is just to keep those cellular power banks full. So whether you take it in the morning, afternoon, or night, that doesn't really matter nearly as much as just making sure you take it every single day. Now, when you go to buy it, you'll see a few different options. Let me make it easy for you. Creatine monohydrate is the gold standard. It's cheap, it's incredibly effective, and it has more than 1,000 studies backing it up. There's another kind, creatine HCl, which might be a bit easier on the stomach for a very small number of people, but for pretty much everyone, monohydrate is the perfect choice.
And whatever kind you choose, please focus on quality. Look for high-purity forms. And most importantly, choose a brand that's third-party tested. That just guarantees it's clean and free of contaminants. You really want to avoid any products that are bulked up with a bunch of junk and fillers. Just get the pure stuff.
So, let's end right where we started. You wouldn't think twice about fueling up your car or charging your phone every day. Creatine is, in a very real way, doing the same thing for your body, but at the most fundamental level. So the real question is, are you recharging your cells